Thanksgiving is coming up, and one of our contestants will have bragging rights at the table this year. It's time for Prop Quiz. Welcome to the Thanksgiving special of Prop Quiz. I'm your host, Ethan Berg, and tonight we have 3 returning contestants. They're our highest scoring contestants of Season 1 of Prop Quiz, which you can watch on our YouTube channel if you need to catch up. But for now, let's see who beats who. Our first contestant back tonight is Russ Roslewski. Russ works for the FAA, although I'm supposed to tell you that he's not here on behalf of the FAA. He's here to help. Russ held an incredible score in Season 1 with a cumulative total of 360 points, but that doesn't mean he's going to keep his lead tonight. Next, we have Nick FOD Tupper. FOD is the Civil Air Patrol cadet who held a total score of 290 points and beat out 4 other impressive contestants at our last 2 episodes. And last but certainly not least, we have the one and only Bryan Turner. Bryan is the host of the YouTube channel Just Plain Silly and gently rides his Cirrus parachute down to his tie-down spot after every flight. Bryan was a contestant early on in our season, winning his first episode and coming back to win again for a total so far of 230 points. High point numbers, so we're looking at a potentially nail-biter game tonight. Let's take a quick refresher of how the game works. We have 2 rounds of 15 questions each. Each question is worth up to 10 points, but you can only earn all 10 if you're the first person to buzz in and you answer correctly. If you aren't the first person to answer, you can only earn 5 points. Of course, we're playing tonight for a special $1,000 grand prize winner takes all, so the stakes are a bit higher. Let's get straight into round 1 with our short answer questions. Guys, your first one is this. This turboprop is the Sky Van. It's a favorite among skydivers. What company manufactured it? Russ.
Shorts.
Shorts? We will not take shorts. Bryan.
Cessna.
It was not Cessna. Nick.
Grumman.
Not Grumman. Russ was closest. It was the Short Brothers. Short Brothers manufactured this particular aircraft. We still got plenty of time, but we're not off to the best start yet. Our first question, nobody got it right. Let's jump right into the second question to see if we can forget that one happened. Our next question is this. In 1955, Tex Johnson completely rolled in a large passenger jet as an unplanned publicity stunt. What company was he working for? Russ.
Boeing.
It was indeed Boeing. It was indeed Boeing, and man, did he get chewed out for doing that as well. When somebody asked him, what the heck do you think you're doing? He said, I'm selling airplanes. I'm selling airplanes. All right, well, it was Boeing. Russ is our first person on the board tonight with 10 points. So he's already in the lead. Let's see if he keeps it. During World War I, starting in August 1915, Germany ruled the skies in their new Fokker Eindecker fighters. What was this period called? Nick.
The Bloody Skies?
No. Russ.
The German Scourge.
No. Bryan.
Mesozoic.
No. No. Mesozoic. Okay, what is Mesozoic? I'll give you a chance to tell me what the heck that is.
That's when the dinosaurs flew. Next question.
No, we were looking for the Fokker Scourge. Close, not the German Scourge, but the Fokker Scourge is what we were looking for. All right, let's continue on. We've still got a lot of questions to go, and of course, this is only round 1. IACRA is the FAA system for online certificate applications. What do the letters in IACRA stand for? Russ.
Oh, man. Integrated Airman Certificate and Rating Application? If it's not, it should be.
That is the correct answer. I would hope you get it right. You work for the FAA. I was going to make fun of you if you didn't get it right, but you did. You are up to 20 points now against Nick and Bryan, 0.
I do not work with IACRA.
You do not work with IACRA still.
No.
Yeah, but I'm going to make fun of you where I can because it's fun.
Yeah.
In the most succinct terms, Russ, in the most succinct terms, what is an accelerated stall? Russ.
A stall at more than 1G.
That's correct. A stall at greater than 1G is an accelerated stall. You're now up to 30 points. We're only just under 6 minutes into the game. What angle is described by the wing's chord line and the aircraft's longitudinal axis? Bryan.
Angle of incidence.
It is the angle of incidence. You are now on the board with 10 points. You're behind Russ. Nick's behind you, but Nick, you've still got time to catch up. Just get a little faster on that trigger, bud. Let's keep going. Winds are out of 280 degrees at 20 knots, and you're landing on runway 25. What is your crosswind component? Mathematical word problem here. Calculating your crosswind component. Bryan?
12 and a half knots?
No. Russ?
10 knots.
It is 10 knots. 10 knots is the correct answer. You're only getting 5 points, though, because Bryan buzzed in before you. You are still healthily in the lead at 35. In a Piper Warrior, the stabilator controls motion about which axis? Bryan?
Lateral.
The lateral axis is the correct axis. You're catching up to Russ pretty quickly. Russ, you better watch out.
Going down.
It's true.
No, not necessarily. Don't sell yourself short. In 1971, a man hijacked a Northwest Orient 727. He escaped by a parachute with $200,000 in cash. Who was he best known as? Bryan.
D.B. Cooper.
D.B. Cooper, yes. How did he escape the plane? You know where he jumped out of the plane at?
I do. Do I get bonus points if I know that he jumped out the ladder in the back?
No, just bonus points with me. Isn't that enough?
Okay. So he
So what did he jump out of?
He extended the ladder.
Ladder at the back, yeah, but what's it called?
The ladder. It comes out of the back. It's the ladder out of the back. It's a ladder.
It's called the tailgate.
That's what I
It's
said.
called the tailgate in a 727. In a piston engine, the uncontrolled firing of the fuel air charge in advance of normal spark ignition is known as what? Bryan.
Crap. Detonation.
It is not known as crap. Russ.
Pre-ignition.
Pre-ignition is the correct answer. I think Bryan pre-ignited there. You're now up to 40 points. You're back to the even numbers now. Bryan is at 30. He's just behind you. But where's Nick? FOD, where are you?
I don't know. I'm slow on the trigger today, I guess.
Oh, man, catch up. You got time to catch up. What winds are reported based on this station symbol? Nick.
15 knots at 270.
That is correct. 270 at 15. It's out of the west. 15 knots. That's right. And now you are on the board with 10 points. I think Russ and Bryan may have taken a pity on you there, let you buzz in. But you are now on the board. All of our contestants are. Let's take a look at that scoreboard real quick. Excuse me. Russ is in the lead with 40. Bryan's right behind him with 30. And Nick is on the board with 10 as we go into this next question. The P-51D and Supermarine Spitfire used the same engines built by Packard and Rolls-Royce. What was the engine called? Nick.
It's a Rolls-Royce Merlin.
It is the Merlin engine, and Packard also built it under license, but that's right, it was primarily a Rolls-Royce design. You're now up to 20 points. All of our contestants are just 10 points behind each other. Bryan and Russ, He may have been slow to start, but Nick's catching up. You both better be looking. We got 3 questions left in this round. Let's keep going. In the PAVE checklist, what does the letter E stand for? Nick.
External factors.
External factors? No. Russ?
External pressures.
It is external pressures is the answer we were looking for. A lot of other people might have said environmental factors. I think is where you were getting that factors from, Nick, but the environmental is actually the V. We've got just a couple left. We're winding down in this round before we get into multiple choice. Here's the next one. At the Athens airport, what kind of navigation transmitter exists on the field? Nick.
VOR.
It is a VOR, a Vortec. It is not the NDB. That's actually outside of the airspace. The little white dot there indicates the VOR is actually on the field. All right, here's the next one, and I believe it's the last one of this round. With some luck, the first major general aviation air show and convention of the season will return in April 2021. In what city? Bryan.
Oshkosh?
Nope. Russ.
Lakeland, Florida.
It is Lakeland, Florida. That is Sun and Fun. With any luck, we will be back at Sun and Fun in
I will
April.
be there.
All right, everybody. That is the end of round 1 with Russ in the lead with 50 points. When we come back, we'll get into multiple choice. Stay with us.
For many pilots, airspaces remain a confusing concept. These are 3D volumes of air that you have to interpret by looking at a flat sectional chart. It can be a real challenge. You need to master them, and the FAA definitely puts heavy emphasis on them for the written test. But no worries, Gold Seal makes airspaces easy to understand using stunning 3-dimensional graphics. And these are the exact ones that you'll see on your knowledge test. You don't have to imagine them. Gold Seal shows them to you in awesome real-world perspective. Gold Seal is the premier online ground school. We've been doing it longer than anyone else. Come see for yourself with a free test drive at groundschool.com.
Welcome back to the Prop Quiz Thanksgiving special. Let's take a look at our scoreboard. Before the break, Russ Roslewski was in the lead with 50 points. Nick and Bryan were both tied for 30. We're now getting into round 2 and our multiple choice questions. As a reminder, each question now has 4 answer choices. Whomever buzzes in first will earn 10 points if they get it correct, but anybody else who gets it right will only earn 5. And remember, you, our viewers, can play along from home if you're watching live. Just go to our website at onlinegroundschool.com/propquiz and enter your name in the chat box to the right of the live stream. Well, let's jump into round 2, gentlemen. Here is the first question. In 1901, this aviator was the first to fly an aircraft around the Eiffel Tower in Paris. What was his name? A. Jacques Clouseau, B. René Fonck, C. Alberto Santos Dumont, or D. Ricardo Montalban. Alrighty, we're going to start our reveal in round 2 today with Nick. Nick, you said C, Alberto Santos Dumont. You are correct. C is the correct answer. Next, we're going to go over to Russ, who said C, Dumont as well. That is also the right answer. Lastly, let's take a look at Bryan. Bryan, you said B. No, sir, he's hiding. I can see him. Come back, Bryan. Come back. We're sorry. But no, it was indeed Dumont, and of course it was not Ricardo Montalban. He played Khan in Star Trek, and of course the other one was Inspector Clouseau. Alrighty, let's take a look at our second question in round 2. In the 18th century, 2 brothers were the first to pilot a hot air balloon. What was their last name? A. Barat, B. Macron, C. Blériot, or D. Montgolfier? Alrighty, let's start with FOD again. FOD, you said D, Montgolfier, and you are correct. Next, Russ also said D, Montgolfier. And it doesn't look like we got an answer from Bryan in this question. So we're going to move on to the next one, which is this. Which atmospheric layer is furthest, or furthest in this case, from the surface of the Earth? A, thermosphere, B, mesosphere, C, exosphere, or D, stratosphere? FOD again, man. I don't know what changed. You weren't hitting that trigger fast enough in round one, but you certainly are now. You said C, exosphere. You are right. That is indeed the correct answer. Next is Russ, C, exosphere as well. And Bryan's back. Bryan, what did you answer? You said D. No, sir. Exosphere is what we were looking for. Yeah, you answered. Yeah, it worked. Better than no answer at all. At least that's what they told me in high school. You know, take a wild stab at it. What is the minimum size in diameter for hail to be a factor in a convective segment? A, 3/4 of an inch, B, 1/2 an inch, C, 0.67 inches, or D, 3 centimeters. Alrighty, what is the minimum size in diameter for hail to become a factor in a convective segment? Russ, you said B, and that is not the right answer. Not 1/2 an inch. Nick, you said B as well? No, sir. And Bryan, what did you say? You said B as well. No, it was not 1/2 an inch. All of our contestants getting this one wrong. It was 3/4 of an inch. It was A, 0.75 inches. Threw you guys for a loop in that one. Bryan, you sure take a long time to cheat, man. In what war did the Great Marianas Turkey... I can't speak tonight. The Great Marianas Turkey Shoot occur? A, World War II, B, World War I, C, the Korean War, or D, the Crimean War? All right, let's start with Russ Roslewski this time, who said A, World War II. That is the correct answer. We're going to move on now to Nick, who said B. Nope, it was not World War I. Not World War I. And Bryan said D, the Crimean War. Crimean War was back in the 1800s. I'd be real impressed if it was back then, but I think time travel would be in play there if that were the case.
Turkeys in the 1800s?
Well, not in the Marianas Trench anyway. Which Marianas Trench? What am I saying? Yeah, I'm going to move on. I'm thinking like the Laurentian Abyss or something. Which of the NASA Mercury 7 astronauts never flew a Mercury mission? A, Deke Slayton, B, Gus Grissom, C, G. Gordon Liddy, or D, Chuck Yeager? All right, Russ, we're going to start with you again. You said A, Deke Slayton, excuse me, and you are right. But let's see if anybody else is. Well, Nick is not. He said D. It's not Chuck Yeager. And lastly, Bryan also said D. Bryan, are you cheating off Nick? Because you're both getting the same ones wrong here.
Yeah, I got nothing clever to say.
You're clearly not cheating off of Russ, who is taking a look at the scoreboard, currently in the lead with 85 points. Nick has 60 and Bryan has 30. In a Garmin G1000, what is the device that senses changes in the Earth's magnetic flux called? A, a magnetic resonance indicator, B, an isogonic relay, C, a flux capacitor, or D, a magnetometer? Alrighty, in the Garmin G1000, what is this known as? Russ, you said D, the magnetometer. You were right. It is indeed. Let's see if we keep our pattern of You getting it right and the others not. Well, I don't know. We're not off to a good start. Nick, you said A, magnetic resonance indicator. That doesn't even exist. We stole that off of an MRI machine at a hospital. And Bryan, what did you say? Oh, don't laugh, Bryan. You didn't get it right either. You said B. No.
I'm rooting for
But at least
Russ.
you didn't say flux capacitor, right? So, you got that going for you. All right. Let's keep it moving, guys. Our next question in round 2 is this. We don't have a lot left. We're punching through these quick. You guys are quick on the buzzers tonight. When navigating with an FMS or flight management system, which electronic component indicates the aircraft's planned flight path? A, a flight coordinator, B, an autopilot, C, the flight director, or D, directional gyro? Alrighty, I have a better feeling about this one. We're going to start with Nick this time, who said C, the flight director. You were right. You're back in the game now. Now we're up to Bryan, who said C, the flight director as well. And lastly, are we going to clear the board again? Russ, we are. All contestants.
Yay.
The flight director, and Russ is now up to 100 points. There is his 100-point jingle, the first one to get to triple digits today. Good job. But you got to watch out still. Nick is not far behind you, Russ. And this next question may help him with that. This author wrote many aviation books, including The High and the Mighty and The Fate is the Hunter. Who was it? A, Ernest Tubb, B, Ernest Hemingway, C, Ernest Borgnine, or D, Ernest Gann? Alrighty. Who was it, Russ? You think it's D, Ernest Gann?
That's
the right answer.
Yes.
Good. Nick, you thought it was B. No. No. Lastly, Bryan. Bryan, did you cheat off him again? No, but you didn't do any better. You said A.
I thought it was Moral, but that wasn't a super option.
No, sir. It was not. It was Ernest Gann, in fact. All right, guys. Well, if we take a look at our scoreboard, we're showing Russ at 110 points, Nick at 70, and Bryan at 35. Now, Bryan, here's a good question for you. Flying a Cirrus SR-22, you experience engine roughness. Now, what would you do to rule out carburetor icing? A, enrich the mixture. B, do nothing. C, apply carburetor heat. Or D, descend. Alrighty, I believe Nick answered first, so we're going to go with him. He said C. No, it's not. I'm not going to tell you why. I'm going to let Bryan tell you why. Bryan, you said B, which is the right answer. Why is that the right answer, Bryan?
Because it comes equipped with a parachute. The engine's not carbureted. It doesn't have a carburetor.
There's no carburetor on the engine. It's kind of hard to ice something you don't have. If your carburetor on an SR-22 starts icing, it's time to pull that chute because something is very, very wrong. All right, Russ, you also said B, do nothing. You were correct as well. All right, here's our next question. Which type of runway lighting has a pair of synchronized flashing lights, one on each side of the threshold? B, REIL, D, MALSR, C, HIRL, or D, RAIL? All right, Russ, we're going to start with you. What do you think it is? You said A, REIL. You're right. It is indeed. Next, we're going to go over to Nick, who said C, and I see him smacking himself on the head there. No,
well,
it is not C. And lastly, Mr. Turner, you said B. No, sir. REIL, or Runway End Identifier Lights. Runway End Identifier Lights. You don't want to go past them. Runway 5 has a displaced threshold preceded by yellow chevrons. What may you do there? A, land. B, nothing. C, taxi only. Or D, taxi and take off. Alrighty, what can you do? The yellow chevrons. Bryan, you answered first. You said D. No. No. Nick, you said B. Nothing. That's the right answer. And lastly, Russ, you also said B. Nothing. Don't touch the yellow chevrons. That's a naughty. That's a no-no.
Bad.
Bryan, haven't you had enough trips to the FSDO already?
Not a very good pilot.
No, I'd fly with you. You.
Once.
Alrighty. This beauty was the top fighter for the U.S. Air Force in the 1950s. What was its designation? A, the F-100. B, the F-8, I think F-880. It looks like F-8D to me. C, the F-84, or D, the F-85. All right, that was F-86. Excuse me, I lost the contact right between the show or right before the show. I'm having a real hard time seeing tonight. Nick, you said D, the F-86, which is the right answer. At least you got it right, even though I didn't. All righty. Russ, what did you say? You said
D.
D as well, the F-86. And lastly, Bryan said D also. All of our contestants getting this one right. Let's see where they're at so far. Russ is definitely still in the lead. Nick is at 85 points. And Bryan at 45. We got 2 questions left. 2 questions left in our Thanksgiving special tonight on Prop Quiz. In real life, actor Tom Cruise owns a warbird. What is it? A P-51 Mustang. B, a B-25 Mitchell. C, an L-19 Bird Dog. Or D, a P-38 Lightning. All right, what does Tom Cruise own? Better question might be, what does Tom Cruise not own anyway? But Russ said A, the Mustang. That is the right answer. He owns a wonderful P-51 Mustang. Bryan also knew that. He said A as well, bringing him up now to 50 points. And lastly, FOD, you said, oh no, you said C. Nope. No, as the computer says. Not the right answer, but you're still ahead of Bryan. You're still doing a good job, FOD. All righty, guys. This is our last question in Prop Quiz on our Thanksgiving special tonight. According to Robert Duvall, what smells like victory in the morning? A, the latrine. B, cordite. C, jet fuel. Or D, napalm. Alrighty, we're going to start with Russ in our final reveal here. He said D, napalm. I love the smell of napalm in the morning, and I like the sound of that jingle too, meaning you got the question right. Bryan, you said A. Nope.
Yeah. No. Yeah, that's the right answer.
And lastly, Nick. Nick, you said in your final answer tonight, D, napalm. That is the correct answer. And ladies and gentlemen, that is the last question, meaning that with 155 points, Russ Roslewski is the winner of tonight's game and our special $1,000 cash prize. Don't forget to share tonight's episode with your friends on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thanks again to Bryan and Nick for a great game. Very well played. I'm Ethan Berg. You all have a wonderful night and a very happy Thanksgiving. We'll see you next time with Season 2. Good night.
Barely.